All right, so this is the second video. I want to do it on proper formatting for both the PDF and the RMD. So here you see I have a little kind of mock-up of what the project proposal might have looked like for you guys. And I just have a couple graphs. These are not representative at all. I didn't even do the research question, but don't worry about that. This is about formatting, not about the content itself, right? All right, so for example, when I talk about formatting, there are multiple ways to kind of interpret this. You can interpret this as like the layout of your actual PDF or the layout of how you like organize your RMD. Both kind of go hand in hand. And you can also talk about just like how to format either text or how to format the code, right? Code is easy. There's this big old line that we talked about, right? This big old line just says, okay, if you go past this line, it's gonna kind of, hang on, let me go to the PDF. There it is. If you go to the PDF, this line kind of, big long line just goes past here and you can't see the end of the code. So all we need to do is break it into several separate lines, right? And general rule is as long as like each individual line doesn't go past this, for example, this thing, you might have to change it a little bit, right? As long as each individual line doesn't like go past this line right here, it should be okay. This thing right here, I don't have to split the X, Y, the color. If I have more stuff over here, more aesthetic options, maybe, yeah, consider, entering it so that it lines up with the parentheses here. But in this case, it's not a big deal, right? What can I do about this then, right? I have one title, which is this big old thing right here. But something you could consider is making the title shorter, but just adding a subtitle. So instead of one long title, I'll say, copy this, and I'll add a subtitle. I'll just do like for the 3 species of irises. I don't have to capitalize I. You can if you, it doesn't matter. This is minor thing, right? So instead of that big long line going past that, where it would also just go past here, now you have a title and a subtitle for your graph, which is honestly better, right? And if I run it here, instead of that big long title, now I have a main title and a subtitle, which is cool and good. All right, so that's kind of code, right? The next thing that I want to talk about for code at least is just breaking your code into multiple parts, right? So for example, this is all like one part. Maybe you did something earlier where you're like, my data is equal to iris, and then, I don't know, you do something, right? Maybe I'll just do something simple. Select sepal width, sepal length, right? And instead of iris, I have this, my data, right? Now these two parts are two separate parts, right? I have something I'm defining my data, and then I'm using my data to do the thing. This will have absolutely no impact on I missed species because I'm dumb, species. This will have absolutely no impact on the graph itself, but for code organization's sake, it's good to just include like an empty line, and then of course make sure the indenting looks proper, right? So that's kind of code formatting. And then for text formatting, the main thing I'm looking for is if I look at this, I ain't gonna read all that, I'm not gonna lie, right? Break it up a little bit, make sure that separate ideas kind of fall in separate parts. If we look at the, not research question, here, introduction of the data set, right? Let's look at what parts of here kind of line up, we can group together, what parts we can separate out. I would say the source of the data, when and how it was originally collected, is like, maybe even include a brief description of the observations. These couple things group together pretty well. But then ethical concerns about the data might be something else that you have, right? So when I get to my ethical concerns, that starts right here. I'll just make sure that that's on a separate paragraph by itself. So then this only talks about the data set, right? And of course, there are no hard guidelines to this. The only real guideline is to make sure that, English class Lamau, your paragraph is, one idea. Don't have too many like random ideas all grouped together in just one paragraph and you're just typing. I don't want to listen to that yap, all right? If you want, again, no right answers, a couple wrong answers, you can like make the descriptions about the rows and columns into like a own small little paragraph as well. It's fine if it's like, one line, sorry, hang on, here it is. All right, it's fine if it's like just one sentence paragraph, but then this shows me that you've taken the time to think about what ideas kind of are grouped together versus what ideas should be separated, even though they're part of just one, big thing, which is the introduction of the data set, right? And then the final thing that I want to talk about is how to format your actual PDF. So last video I talked about the headers. This is an excellent place to kind of apply those things, right? Let's think about, assume that I don't have to do the second one and I don't have to do this research question kind of thing, right? Think about how the outline should be formatted. Of course, I should have my setup up here, right? But then down here, maybe I'm gonna say this is my first data set 1. And then in my data set 1, I'm doing a bunch of different things, right? I'm giving the intro, I'm giving a glimpse, then I'm doing a couple graphs, right? So then inside here, I would do introduction of data set. And then here I would say glimpse of data set, data set. And here I would do, second level header, plotting a small scatter plot, right? So something like this. And then this goes into RMD formatting versus the actual PDF formatting, right? Same kind of idea applies here. When I said just include like a little empty space, you see up here, everything is squished. I have my header squished between 2 code blocks. Just make sure there's some empty space between there, right? One line is enough. You don't have to do anything crazy. Of course, if you do this, it's not going to make a difference in the actual PDF, but just make sure that both look relatively formatted, you know? So then when I do this, I go back to the actual PDF. You see, now I have my setup, my dataset 1, then I have subsections inside my dataset 1 thing, and then each part of my project proposal, quote unquote, is nicely formatted and it's nicely labeled, and inside the outline, now I have this entire nice little, outline that I can kind of scroll through. So yeah, I mean, this is just another example of how to format all. Yippee.